Welcome to the Veterans in Politics Talk Show. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.
Welcome to the Joint Veterans Endorsement Interviews for Non-Judicial Candidates. On the outset, I'd like to formally recognize and thank our sponsoring organizations for making today's event possible. Sponsors are Judge Mary Perry, Clark County District Court, Family Division, Department P; Christine Brewer, Clark County District Court, Family Division, Department S; Judge Chris Cannon, North Las Vegas Municipal Court, Judge, Department 1; Judge Noreen DeMonte, Clark County District Court, Department 28; and Councilwoman Carrie Cox, Henderson, Ward 3. We'd also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our additional sponsors and community partners whose support helps ensure a professional, fair, and transparent endorsement process. We're honored to have you here with us today. Before we begin, I'd like to first review the rules for our format today. First, each panel member will introduce themselves by stating their name and the organization that they're representing today. Next, you'll be given an opportunity to introduce yourself. Just include the office that you're running for, of course, your name, and just a brief explanation of why you're seeking to run for this office. Then we'll transition into the interview portion of today's event. During that portion, you'll be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. When you have 30 seconds remaining, you'll be shown a yellow card. When your time is expired, you'll be shown a blue card. You may finish your sentence, but then please conclude at that point. And we ask that you please be respectful of the time. At the end, you'll be given a minute to give a closing remark. With that, we will start with the introductions.
Good afternoon, or almost good evening. Thanks for being here. My name is Jeffrey Lustig. I'm with Veterans in Politics International. I live in Las Vegas. I am an Air Force veteran. I'm also a former judge, and I am a private practice attorney in Las Vegas.
Hi, I'm Cindy Lake with Veterans in Politics International and Jason's mom.
Tim Ross, representing Nevada Veterans Association.
I'm Gary White, Moffett Point Marine Association. I'm representing the Veterans in Politics.
Martin Walker, Nevada Veterans Association.
Hi, I'm David Marlon, and I'm running for Las Vegas City Council Ward 6. Ward 6 is in the very far northwest of Las Vegas. They call it Iron Mountain, Centennial Hills, and Sky Canyon. I'm a longtime Las Vegan. I've lived here for 37 years. I've been married to a United States Marine, so I'm the spouse of a veteran. Our son is in his 5th years of the U.S. Marine Corps. I currently run a nonprofit called Vegas Stronger, which is offering immediate access to integrated behavioral health care to our most underserved. I started it 8 years ago. We now have 130 staff, and we get between 10 and 15 walk-ins every day because I believe people should not be on the street in our first world city. They should have access to care. And I'm grateful to have the wherewithal to be able to help deliver that. I wasn't thinking of running for city council, but in June of last year, several of my neighbors came to me and said, we have some big problems in Ward 6. There's 7 development projects which were canceled by the current city council person. As a business person, I recognize that means not only were those development jobs postponed or canceled, but that means people didn't get to have jobs to build them. It meant that once they were built, they couldn't employ people. And Las Vegas is number 1 in urban unemployment. So I chose to run to help address homelessness and our development challenges. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. We'll start with the questions now.
What do you think? Should I not do that one question that I started last time about the homelessness, since he's kind of an expert of that? I mean, and he's the only one here, but I guess I'll ask the question because I do, I appreciate the work. I just finding out about the work you did, and I just found out about the golden ticket and that sort of thing. And I want to hear you talk more about this. So we have our questions and we prepare our questions ahead of time. And I didn't realize that you had that background. I guess I could have looked it up and whatnot. But I have a question that is prepared about homelessness, and it has a lot of meaning to me. I'm a relative newcomer to Las Vegas. I live in downtown, and I've noticed since the time I've lived there that the homeless population continues to, let's just say, grow. And a lot of the people in that population come from a lot of backgrounds, but there is, I believe, a disproportionate amount of veterans that are also in this population. Now, homelessness in Las Vegas a few years ago, they made a decision to create a magnet, I suppose, where services were supposed to be available in one location. And they really invited a lot of people that were home challenged and homeless to come to that location and get help. Now, when you drive through it, it looks like a miniature Skid Row in Los Angeles. It's unsightly, it's unsafe, it's unsanitary, and I don't know anyone that really likes to be there. So my question is, should we change our policy in the city, and what should be done to accomplish this? Was this a good idea to create this portal for services? Is it effective? Can you comment on that, please? And what you'll do if elected to change our policy in this city?
Great question. And I've watched homelessness rise since I've been here for 37 years. I've also seen our city and county fail to address it properly. The city tries to direct everybody to the city's homeless courtyard, which is inhumane and inappropriate. They lay mats for people to sleep outside in the summer and in the winter. They have about 700 people who sleep there a night. And they are not good at connecting them to services. And they're handled in silos. In addition, our city, as you get to know it, you'd recognize that they serve a meal at Catholic Charities, they serve a meal at Las Vegas Rescue Mission, and they serve a meal at the Salvation Army. And our unhoused do this triangular migration all day, going to get their next meal, as opposed to being able to work on getting out of homelessness. I'm a firm believer that no one should be on our streets, that they should be connected to treatment. I've now built an organization that has 100 clinicians. So we're able to meet the demand as people are seeking help, as they become willing to get help. And we are very successful in helping people get off the streets. We need to scale. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Northwest, your ward, 6, Northwest Preservation Area. There's issues like septic issues and water issues and growth issues, and that Mormon church issue that arose. Specifically, what are you thinking of doing to attract the business and convince the other council members to invest in Ward 6 and also to preserve the rural status of your area, your ward? Thank you.
Great question. I lived for 10 years. I had 2 acres in the 90s in Ward 6. So before Sky Canyon was built. So I'm a longtime Ward 6 resident, and I understand the balance between protecting our rural character and the fact there's now 117,000 people who live in this ward, and they've been very good at putting in development. They have not been very good about putting infrastructure. If there was 117,000 residents in any other city in the country, there would be police, fire, hospital. We don't have a police station yet. We don't have a hospital yet. There are 2 fire stations in Ward 6, but we need a third. What I see my primary responsibility will be making sure we have proper infrastructure. At the same time, there's 6,000 new homes that are being bolted on to the very northwest, and that's going to cause traffic problems. It's also, the schools are already full, so we're going to need to plan better for growth as this new development comes in for our roads, for our infrastructure. I've been a CEO of 2 publicly traded companies. Planning and looking at the long game is just what I do. Our current city council person is a nice person, but she's been inadequate in terms of representing the ward, and I want to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
Tim Ross, Nevada Veterans Association. You've pledged to build a second police substation in Ward 6. And how do you plan to fund the construction and staffing on such a facility without raising taxes, which is also a core part of your platform?
Thank you. A core part of my platform is not raising taxes. In addition, our current city council just raised septic fees, and they've raised parking fees, and they're exploring other taxes. I will be a no vote on any new taxes or fees. Fortunately, the new substation, which they broke ground on already, is already budgeted. So I will not be supporting new taxes or fees because I believe all of us in Las Vegas have affordability challenges. And I believe additional fees from the city is not something that should be put on our constituents. So the short answer is it's already budgeted. I expect to try to move it along and not have it take 2 years to get built. Since you didn't cut me off, I'm going to mention, and I didn't, that I have a clinical license as a supervisor. I also have a doctorate in psychology and have treated 10,000 people in Las Vegas with an addictive disorder. Thank you.
Mr. Marlon, you are very animated and I like it. We're going to go to line 1 of your card, creating jobs and economic growth. You talked about the growth and how housing developments and houses are springing up like mushrooms in a cave. We have nowhere to travel to get anywhere. I'm a transportation specialist. We need a light rail system in this town, something that can go around the perimeter of 215, go all the way up near the auto racing track, Boulder City. We're wasting money building a busway down Boulder Highway. There's a beautiful veterans hospital and nobody could get to. Would you support a light rail system being built in this valley? It is highly needed. We're coming up with all the professional sports teams, including soccer and NBA basketball and baseball. How are people going to get around? Do you support the building of a light rail system in the valley?
Unequivocally, yes. Let me expand on it, though. I recognize we're already number 1 in urban unemployment, and we have artificial intelligence putting pressure on jobs all over. Getting a light rail system being built is a big project that's going to mean a lot of jobs while it's solving an infrastructure problem. So that's the exact kind of thing that both our county and our city leaders need to be prioritizing, particularly to the airport. There's a much more efficient way to be able to transfer humans than what we're currently doing, and the rail system it could be a big part of that.
Martin Walker, Nevada Veterans Association. So corporate equity firms are buying up single-family homes all across the valley, driving up rents and pricing working families out of the market. The city council doesn't have the power to ban, private companies from buying property. However, they have several regulatory tools at their disposal that can make corporate land grabbing less profitable and give local families a competitive edge, or give them at least a fighting chance. Some of those include owner-occupied deed restricted zoning, first look ordinances, and tiered business licensing fees. Which of these options would you push for, and why? And if none of them, what would be your plan to help give families an opportunity to purchase a home? and give them a little edge against the corporate buyouts?
Great question, and I appreciate the softball. When I first started to run, I looked at doing all-out bans. I would like the People's Republic of China not to be able to buy American worker homes. I would like it banned. It was interesting when I talked to my friends in leadership at the Republican Party. They said, "Oh, you're infringing on competition, and that's socialist and inappropriate, trying to shut them out." And I couldn't help but smile when Donald Trump mentioned it 3 weeks ago as something he wanted to do. As a person who loves our country, and I love the Constitution the way it's built, I would prefer some penalties for corporate buyers, for private equity, to allow an advantage to working people to get homes. I have a 23 and a 24-year-old son. When I moved to Las Vegas, when I was 23 years old, I bought my first home by Lorenzi Park for $63,000. My two boys, they don't have a dream of buying a home on their salaries right now, and I recognize most working people don't. So it's important that we have incentives for them and potential disincentive for non-working, non-resident purchasers of homes.
So, Jeff Lustig, Veterans in Politics. The city of Las Vegas is up around almost 700,000 residents in the city proper. But the police are handled by a county agency called the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Now, that is headed by the elected sheriff, and there are no elected representatives to serve as a council that oversees the city. And when people in the city of Las Vegas have issues with police and they call the city council, they are sometimes shocked to learn that the city council will say, "Hey, we don't supervise them. They're on their own." In the situation where we are, that goes back to 1973 when we consolidated our city police force with our sheriff. Does this create, in reality, a bottleneck where there is no direct representation by the citizens of the city in their police force? Is this something that we need to address? Do we need to take back citizen control of our police? Do we need a better police department in Las Vegas?
I'm personally a fan of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I also recognize that city council will fund 1/3 of Metro salary. So your city council people certainly have a voice. I'll also tell you, as a longtime Las Vegan, I regularly text Sheriff Kevin McMahill, and while I may disagree with him on some things when he was saying, let's get traffic cameras every place to record that. And I said, sorry, it's a hard no for me, my friend. I value freedom higher than I do making your job a little easier. We still have a good relationship. And as I have too many accidents, too many kids getting hurt in Ward 6, too many e-scooters, we do have some police issues, and I expect to have, I'm going to say, substantial influence with the Metropolitan Police Department in my seat at City Council, helping represent each of you.
Hello again. I'm Cindy Lake with Veterans in Politics International. Sorry about that. I was looking at the Nevada veterans. As far as getting on to the council, day one, you're elected. What do you want to do day one? What's your pet project? What are your, and what boards would you like to sit on and why? Thank you.
Oh, there's so much. I mentioned I was the CEO of 2 publicly traded companies. I'm wired kind of tight, and I work hard, and I'm expecting to work hard at this. I'm expecting to talk to our friend Kevin McMahill, day one, and I would like to begin a 100% intervention on anybody unhoused in Ward 6. I want a van with mental health professionals, and I want a squad car, and I want 0 unhoused in Ward 6, day 2. I also want to immediately meet with developers, and there's things called project labor agreements. I would like to do some things like, what % of veterans do you have working on jobs? Those are things that I could have influence on right away. I also want to sit down, and this is a funny story. I have some finance people that work for me that used to be in the city and in the county, and they've assured me I know the city budget better than any of the city council person today. So I expect to get into the weeds right away and figure out where efficiencies can be had and how we could stop this. Let's keep raising fees and raising taxes because it's important to me that we don't do that under my watch. But to do that, it means I'm going to have to do homework and I'm going to have to do work to find efficiencies to help our government operate more as a business. The last thing I'm going to mention, since you're holding the 30-second card, is that Henderson has a rule where if you apply for a business license, they turn it around in 30 days. They may write comments on it. If you address the comments, they give you the license in 14 days. That gives developers or business people some known time to respond. The city doesn't. They'll go back and forth. And I've talked to lots of businesses who waited 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to open a business. And that strangles jobs. It strangles business. And that needs to change. And that's something I expect to work on day 1.
Tim Ross. Did you have a question there or follow up? Tim Ross, Nevada Veterans Association. With the proximity to Nellis Air Force Base, many personnel transition into civilian life right here in Ward 6. What specific city ordinances or incentives would you propose to help veteran-owned businesses bypass the red tape that you've mentioned? All of us would like to bypass a lot of that red tape. How would you like to establish themselves in Northwest and avoid some of that red tape?
I would like to help mitigate the red tape for all of us and recognize that North Vegas and Henderson have been going through growth while the city's, wondering why they are not growing like these neighboring cities. I recognize it's due to our own red tape. So the primary issue that I hope to help reframe, and I'm not going to change the world, but what I do hope to help change the attitude by implementing some of these changes in ordinance so we respond to veteran as well as regular citizen requests for zoning, for variances, for business licenses. In the days of AI, we should be able to respond much quicker and much succinctly to be able to help things move along. And we need to get jobs going back in Las Vegas and reframe our whole perspective so like the city isn't, we're in charge of everything. That needs to be reframed and they're there to help us. I hope to bring that.
Mr. Marlon, let's go back to the homeless situation. One of the interesting things, we were talking about the corridor that they built for the homeless. Of course, that was on purpose. Draw all the homeless and undesirables into one spot to contain them, kind of like a reservation. Now, one of the other things you mentioned is your educational background. You say you were a psychologist?
I do have a doctorate in psychology. Yes.
All right, doctor. We know that a large percentage of the homeless have mental issues. Okay, that could be either civilians or military. How do we attain a situation where we want to approach these people, deal with their mental illness or their deficiency without infringing on their civil rights? Because when the homeless crisis was invented back during the 80s, during the one of the previous presidents who killed all the insane asylums, as we used to call them back in the day. How do we approach helping these people sometimes it's going to have to be the hard way, without infringing on their civil rights?
It's a great question. And to me, I think it's primarily a leadership issue. The fact that we are tolerating it, the fact that we are turning a blind eye to the fact that there's our brothers and sisters, some veterans are out there sleeping on our streets, when it should be unacceptable to all of us today. And I think that's a leadership issue. I mentioned that I have a clinic to be able to get them help same day. And I think that's important. But I talked about this golden ticket. We need everybody to team up and stop giving them money and enabling it to be bearable on the street. Because if you fly a sign, you could still make 20 or 30 bucks an hour, which makes living out in the street reasonable. We as citizens need to stop condoning and supporting that. And instead, we need to direct every person who's out in the streets to immediate shelter, to be able to get help and address their issues. There is about 1% of the unhoused which can't be handled in an outpatient clinic like mine. And there is not an adequate mental health place to take them. So we are going to need to do some state-funded investment to be able to have a place, because once there's one person who seems out of their mind out there, other people who are using will congregate with them. And that ends up being the beginning of a homelessness camp. And the fact that we only have a solution for some of the homelessness crisis that's really what's hindering us.
Follow up on that. One of the things, how do we develop a program to differentiate between those who are marginal and those who are the worst of the worst? We've seen this, you've seen it more than I have, but from my things that I've seen, there's a lot of people out here who need to be housed and behind, people who are going to guard them. Where do we differentiate? How do we differentiate? How do we get them evaluated?
I run a clinic that had 2,000 of God's kids walk in the door last year. I have them sit with a licensed clinician and we assess them. It's less than 1% need to be in either a lockdown or in a residential or a group home. Most of them are able to be treated with medications, long-acting injectables, counseling, case management, once they're supplied proper housing. So we're able to solve 90% of it, bless you, 99% of it. We just need the state to step up to be able to help really that 1%. It's probably 100 people valley-wide.
Martin Walker, Nevada Veterans Association. So I've heard one of the mayoral candidates really give a good marketing strategy about the local attractions in North Las Vegas, about maybe telling, reaching out in a marketing aspect to people and say, hey, well, there's other things to do here in North Las Vegas. You don't have to just stay in Las Vegas. If you are elected, you'd be part of that. You'd probably be needing to support the mayor in that ambassadorship and trying to attract people as far as tourism to the North Las Vegas area and to the attractions. So my question to you is, to your knowledge, what attractions are in North Las Vegas, and how do you think you would support?
Yeah, I'm the city of Las Vegas.
You're Las Vegas?
In Northwest, but I
Okay.
could still answer that question because it's pretty cool. I mentioned that for 10 years, I had 2 acres with 7 horses on it. And although my wife was an equestrian, I called myself a mucker. What I did is I shoveled every single day. I believe the Northwest has a lot of ranches. It's got the Gilchrist farm. It's got the farm. And instead of the city, constantly badgering them and sending enforcement down and making their jobs harder, I think it's important that we appreciate our rural character and make it easier for people to visit these farms and see the animals, potentially go on rides. There's a lot of people who have this equestrian bug, and we should allow them to ride or engage in barrel racing or dressage or whatever their equestrian sport is. And to me, the city should be facilitating that. Particularly, it's something they're not doing on their phones. I would like to see more people outdoors on a horse than on a phone. Yeah.
Thank you for that. For some reason, I had an N next, and I see now that it's not next to your N.
Decatur is the north.
Yeah.
I'm west of Decatur. North Vegas is east of Decatur.
I've got time for 2 more questions.
So, Dr. Marlon, again, Jeff Lustig from Veterans in Politics International. Access for people with disabilities, including a large number of disabled military veterans in our community, it's not optional. It's a very needed thing. It's what many of us need to have a normal, independent life. Yet, there have been instances, which I am aware of and some other people are aware of, where there have been clear and repeated systematic failures for giving people with disabilities the access that they need. In my own case, on Fremont Street, I have personally been discriminated against by the Fremont Street experience while attending events. I've been told that I can't have my service dog, that they have a permit from the city that allows them to exclude all animals, and I've had to wrangle and finagle to get in there. There's also instances where across the city, disabled parking is evaporating. It's disappearing. We also have housing units. I live in downtown Las Vegas, and we have numerous new housing that have gone in, new structures. And because they're not over 3 stories high, they don't have elevators. They don't have adequate parking. It's becoming a systematic problem. And as an attorney in this community and someone connected with veteran services, I'm hearing more and more that people can't find places to park. They can't get their scooters in. Some are confined to wheelchairs, and it's becoming a big problem. As a city council member, what specific actions can you take, are you going to be willing to do to look into this accessibility problem? And what can we do to change things as far as building and planning and execution of some of these apartments and condos that don't have elevators? They just don't have elevators.
Thank you for bringing this up, and it's something that us abled don't give enough attention to. I'm going to rely on the current rules for housing. Like if you build an apartment, you need X amount of handicap spots. I'm not sure what the current ratios are for them. I hadn't noticed an inadequacy of parking places. I do recognize lack of ramps, and I do recognize this 3rd floor access. I've also bought some apartment buildings in my life, some old ones, and it's interesting that they had elevators. And I remember one of them broke. I ran Crossroads for a while. There was a little 2-story with an elevator, and the elevator broke. And they were like, it's $150,000 to replace the elevator. And while it sounded terrible, and when you're just struggling to get by, it was just something. To me, it is a cost of doing business. We just need to do this. I am going to mention I'm a dog guy. I got 2 German ladies at home. I got a big Doberman and a German Shepherd, and I recognize many of our clients come in with a canine, and we support that. They can engage in treatment, see the doctor, see the counselor. That is a re-education that needs to occur on Fremont Street, and I would expect to help champion that.
Cindy Lake, Veterans in Politics. Mr. Marlon, Dr. Marlon, how will you attract business to Las Vegas? You have any ideas for that with tourism on the decline? Money's on the incline. Tourism is on the decline. What are your ideas for attracting new business? Thank you.
I'm mostly, I'll be a cheerleader and I will help support Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas. I'll mention my wife and I, we have our burial plot already paid for at Palm Mortuary. So we're staying here forever. So I will certainly, I love Las Vegas and I will cheer for it. But my most of my job is going to be to get out of the way of the developers and the business people. And I'm going to say, stop asking me to fix businesses. We need to stop breaking them and stop hindering it for them. So I see my job more of trying to just be a more efficient municipality and get out of their way.
All right. Well, with that will be the last question for our interview portion. I'd like to give you a minute to do a closing remark.
Thank you. I've had many interviews in this process. I've personally knocked over 1,000 doors. I've been to a ton of community events. I'm taking this very seriously. With my wife and son, proud veterans and active duty, this endorsement is very important to me. There's also a significant amount of veterans who live in the Northwest. So I'm grateful for each of you for your service. For your time and engaging in this long process. Also, I'm happy it's your last one. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your service. And I would really appreciate your support so I could come and work on this service project that I want to endeavor on your behalf at Las Vegas City Hall. My name's Dave Marlon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. That concludes our event for today. Once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Judge Mary Perry, Clark County District Court Family Division Department P, Christine Brewer, Clark County District Court Family Division Department S, Judge Chris Cannon, North Las Vegas Municipal Court, Judge Department 1, Judge Noreen DeMonte, Clark County District Court Department 28, and Councilwoman Carrie Cox, Henderson Ward 3, and our additional sponsoring partners for their leadership, support, and dedication to veterans and to the integrity of our non-judicial process.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.